Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Super Academy live stream. I'm not sure quite how much of an introduction I'm supposed to be doing here, but as I've been told, there is a variety of readings that are available for people to peruse tonight. People can request them for a variety of prices. I believe the price guide is listed below, or possibly in the comments section. And, well, here we go. I apologize if I kept all of you waiting. I had to light the fire.
Would you like to pick something to get the ball rolling?
Certainly. What are my options?
They are just to the left of you.
My. Well, we have the wonderful literary classic.
That's going to be our end piece, hopefully.
Oh dear. Well, that is off the rails for now.
Yeah.
Well, we have a book I've never heard of. There are several books I've never heard of. I'm not a very well-read man, I realize. There is Diana Gabaldon's The Outlander. Some lighter fare. William Shakespeare's The Star Wars. Books on the Ground. The Life, History, and Magic of the Cat. That sounds fascinating to me. Oh my. Well, let's just jump right in with Chapter 1, The Origin of the Cat. You can visit the caves of the Izais, Lascaux, and Altamira. You can look at every detail in the frescoes of Tassili d'Ager, or from the excavations of Chocotien. From Chayennera to Kenya or Java, you can examine all those archaeological sanctuaries where there are relics authenticating the passage of man and his animals from prehistory to today. Nowhere will you find a trace of the cat. There are no small felines in the rock paintings or carvings of Paleolithic times. There's not a tooth nor a vertebrae of a cat in the Kyokomojinga or kitchen middens, those rubbish dumps of the small Neolithic cultures of Northern Europe, where fragments of shellfish shells and broken tools were found mixed in with the bones of deer, wild boars, dogs, and birds. Periods were also apparently a relatively recent invention, or commas even. In the pile-built lake villages of Meusdorf in Switzerland and the caves of Thanyen, the only feline skeletons to be found are those of the occasional lynx. The only prehistoric representation of a small feline so far discovered is on the wall of a grotto in Asia Minor, and even this is questionable. The dog, the reindeer, the bear, and the horse had for millennia been the companions and servants of man before the domestic cat appeared on the scene. Where did it come from? Who were the ancestors of Shakespeare's harmless, necessary cat? The most natural explanation might seem to be that the domestic cat descended from the European Wildcat, Felis sylvestris. Higher than I thought it was going to be. Unfortunately, like the last steak I had. In fact, this mistake was made for generations. The first to refute it in 1736 was the Swedish botanist Linnaeus Carl von Linné. This was all the more remarkable in that he could never have seen a wild cat. Felis sylvestris is not a particularly rare animal. It is found in a great many regions of Britain, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, and Central Europe, but it is completely unknown in Scandinavia and Ireland. Linnaeus gave a quite definite opinion, but it was not until Temminck, in the middle of the 19th century, that the issue was finally settled. The domestic cat is not a tame version of the European wildcat. Have there been any interesting comments yet?
Nothing specific yet. Somebody's very pleased that you're reading this.
Excellent. Wildcats throughout the world. Europe. The wildcat in the European forest and woods differ in many ways from the domestic cat. The main morphological difference is the wildcat's wide skull with clearly convex profile and a very marked orbital cavity. It has a heavy jowled appearance, black lips, and green eyes. Its tail is club-like. It's going to be a long evening, unfortunately. Its tail is club-like, short and thick, ringed 6 times and black at the tip. Its body is massively built, muscular and covered in thick fur. It often weighs 12 to 16 pounds, and apparently, in Eastern Europe, even 26 to 28 pounds. Its characteristic coat color is a yellowish gray on the back and sides, which turns paler under the belly, with stripes that are always in a vertical direction. Lastly, the underneath of its paws is protected as far as the digits by a wide, thick callus pad, which joins up at the back where a smaller but still thick metacarpal pad. There's such an enormous range of difference in the weight, coloring, and even the degrees of wildness of the domestic cats that roam the towns of Europe that these physical distinctions alone do not distinguish the wildcat from the domestic cat. But there are other differences. Habits of the European wildcat are different from those of the town cat. The wildcat feeds very irregularly. As autopsies have proven, it can swallow very quickly an enormous quantity of meat and then remain for several days afterwards without taking in anything at all. Similarly, it drinks a great deal, but infrequently. In the winter, it is less active, but does not hibernate. And a recent study has shown that the wildcat scarcely ever moves out of an irregularly shaped territory whose extreme points are only separated by about half a mile as the crow flies. But the most interesting point of all arises when one interbreeds wild with tame cats. It is certainly possible to cross domestic cats with all kinds of wild cats. Fragile and delicate. Throughout their lives, often die young, and rarely succeed in producing a second generation. This point, more than any other, seems to set the domestic cat apart from the various wild species. In mentality, the wildcat is one of the great predators. It is a terrifyingly wild animal, ferocious, savage, and utterly intractable. In Scotland, where wildcats have always been widespread, the peasants up until the end of the Middle Ages were authorized to destroy them at will and use their fur for clothing. Hundreds of stories are told of how these cat hunts turned into battles between equals, of how the cat turned on the man, chased him back into his home, and fought him there to the death. The European wildcat and the domestic cat are completely different species. Further, the wildcat should not be confused with feral cats, which are usually domestic cats run wild, sometimes a mixture of wild and domestic. Wildcats are rare in the Mediterranean islands, but the occasional specimens found in Corsica, Sardinia, and the Balearic Islands have been classified as Felis libea, a species that also inhabits Africa and Asia. So, Felis sylvestris is certainly not the only wildcat in the woods and forests of Europe. And of those small felines that we can consider really wild, there are numerous varieties throughout the world. Well, I do believe that's enough information on cats for now.
We have a comment. This is substantially more cat book than I expected the stream to put up with.
I'm amazed they are tolerating it quite this well.
Me too.
As far as I can tell. I sit here in blissful ignorance reading at you people.
While we are waiting for, to give you a little break here, while we're waiting for, more people to show, more people to put in a comment or to request a book using our handy-dandy guidelines below there. Can you tell us a little bit about your time doing voiceover work for Super Academy?
Sure. I mean, do you just want, just whatever?
Sure. What was it like from the process, like the first time you had any, involvement in the project to, actually recording the lines?
Well, my involvement really started with, obviously, my audition. But I knew Ben had been talking about doing the movie for a long time. I was very keen on doing an audition. I actually auditioned mainly for the role of Dark Cop, which, to our great benefit, I did not get. Yeah, Ben also very quickly brought me on at least after the initial film, for doing sound work. But for the initial movie that we did, my involvement was very limited. I appear as a background extra in one scene. I think for about half a second, but that's a half a second more than a lot of people get, so I'm thankful for it. And then I was told that I would have to be doing the voice for Deathside, which would be the main villain, which is something I've wanted to do quite a bit. Just voicing villains. Personally, I think they're a little bit more fun than good guys. There's a little more range of insanity you can include in something like that. And that was actually part of the recording process, was then kind of had in mind what he wanted Deathside to sound like. I guess what we ended up going with was something that kind of sounds like Slade from Teen Titans. But we tried out a whole bunch of different things. We actually have a series of recordings that I don't think we've done anything with, where I am actually doing a Dark Knight Rises Bane impression the entire time. That one was a lot of fun. There was also, what was one of the other voices we did? It wasn't entirely appropriate, but there was one voice where Deathside kind of sounded like this. He sounded more snake-like, more scheming. And that voice is fun to do simply because that voice sounds really intense, and it almost has a wild quality to it. Because like you can kind of tell on my face, I do a lot of face acting when I'm doing voiceover work. So that kind of comes through in the character. He kind of became this almost manic figure, which didn't fit with his performance in the movie, unfortunately. So we didn't end up going with that. But I like the voice we ended up going with, because that voice is fun to do in a more condescending way. You can be just as slimy and conniving as you want to be. And you can also be incredibly intense with a voice like that. And that's a lot of fun to do when you're actually in the studio.
Definitely. What can you say about the time playing tiredness in the Crimson Toro video?
Well, that was almost an accident. We realized we didn't quite have somebody to play tiredness when we were shooting. Had the shirt, and I'm not sure how I ended up getting picked, but that was a lot of fun because you can just be as absolutely bleary as you want. And then there's also physical comedy from getting punched in the face by this 7-foot-tall masked wrestler. I did about 10 pratfalls that day, seeing just how much of a spin I could get when I got launched, when I got nailed in the face.
Yeah. If I remember right, we had decided that we were going to have, because you voiced the body that's played by Mike Bloom, we were going to have him do your voice, but
Yes.
we never ended up getting that to go through.
Much because tiredness never speaks, unfortunately.
Yeah. But that's okay.
I did.
Kirby Volt commented, "I love your voices. It's sad we don't get to see your facial performances. They're super great." So thank you, Kirby.
Yes, thank you. I did actually also end up recording the psychotic laugh you hear in the background during the the third Crimson Toro sequence.
Yes.
Also, my favorite part of that whole thing was the direction we got when Tiredness and Crimson Toro are dancing. I believe the direction that Kyle used was without any room for Jesus.
Yes, that's correct. I had completely forgotten about that.
That just sticks right in my brain.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, we have a good number of people watching. Nobody seems to be jumping on board yet, which means you still have control, Alex.
Excellent.
So you can read whatever you would like. I recommend reading something that's going to make them want to pick something else.
That unfortunately to my mind means more cats. What is this? It looks like an old library book. Oh, that's Lovecraft. How wonderfully innocuous.
Yeah.
Hobbit, World War Z. There it is. What's the problem with picking interesting things to start with? I've never read Outlander.
It's kind of like like fantasy sci-fi with some really trashy romance thrown in.
Excellent. We should have acquired a copy of Twilight for this. Oh, we did that last time.
The problem with that is then I have to find someone who owns Twilight,
yeah,
or pay for it.
Yeah,
and both of those things are not amenable to me. As great as that would be.
Yes. Well, let's do some of Jim Gaffigan's Dad is Fat. I stocked many of these books when I worked at Target, so I'm actually interested to see what, oh my goodness, what is actually in this book.
It's lots of little anecdotes. Pretty good.
Excellent. Kind of like a Dave Barry then?
Yeah.
Book 1, Rue the Day. When I was single, I was convinced my friends who took the plunge and had their first baby were victims of an alien abduction, because they would disappear from the planet and reappear a year later as unrecognizable strangers. Of course, that may have been because I was way too into the X-Files. When I initially started dating Jeannie, the notion of settling down and having children became a feasible reality for me. Coincidentally, I was invited to visit one of my close childhood friends who had been abducted by aliens. Who got married and had a kid about a year earlier. My friend, his wife, and their one-year-old baby had settled in the Southwest. I was working in LA, so a weekend visit was totally doable. I thought it would be great if I brought Jeannie. We could see what it would be like when we got married and had a baby. My friend Tom, name changed to protect his identity and possibly preserve the friendship, suggested that we could drive out and hike the Grand Canyon, which to me sounded unnecessarily difficult and way too outdoorsy, but I knew active Jeannie would love it. Jeannie and I arrived at night. We were much later than expected due to a flight delay. As we entered Tom's darkened house, we were instructed to please be quiet so as not to wake the baby. I felt like a teenager sneaking back into my parents' house after a missed curfew. We silently tiptoed into a guest room, giggling. "I feel like we're in trouble," Jeannie whispered. Once we settled in the room, Tom came in and said goodnight, announcing that we would be leaving around 7 a.m. for the Grand Canyon, so we wanted to get a good night's sleep. As Tom shut the door, Jeannie looked at me confused and said, "I thought you said we would have dinner or something." I looked at my watch. It was 9 p.m. I thought, well, he is a parent. I guess this is what parenting involves. This must be what grown-ups do. They skip their second dinner. At the crack of 7 a.m., we set off to make the long, scenic drive to the Grand Canyon. Tom's Saab was seated with men in front and ladies in the back, with the one-year-old in the car seat between them. I suppose the first really big red flag of the trip was the fact that there was one CD allowed to be played in the car. It was explained to us that this CD was meant to soothe the baby. The volume would be occasionally adjusted based on the baby's needs. Okay. So we drove and drove, talking and listening to songs with lyrics like "Ding-a-ding-dong, ding-a-ding-dong." If you haven't driven through the Southwest, the only thing more awe-inspiring than the beauty of the landscape is the absence of people. You can drive for hours and never see another person. Restaurants are scarce, expensive, and provide little selection. When we stopped for an early lunch, I ate my first and hopefully last taco salad, with Fritos as the main ingredient. We drove past a drive-through beef jerky store. Not just a store that sells only beef jerky, but a drive-through store that only sells beef jerky. I guess the drive-through makes sense, because if you're eating beef jerky, you're probably so busy that you don't have time to get out of your car to buy beef jerky. At one point, I started improvising what the owner of the drive-through beef jerky store was thinking when he came up with the idea for the store. In a ridiculous voice, I said, "For all them folks that are in a rush and ain't got time to park their pickups and shop for some quality jerky." It was kind of funny. At least Jeannie and Tom thought so. Tom's wife, Barb, another name change, politely informed me that the voice I was doing was upsetting the baby. I looked back at the baby, who was sound asleep. I didn't know what to say. I just shut up. We drove the rest of the way to the Grand Canyon in complete silence, listening to the soothing baby CD, "Ding-a-ding-dong, ding-a-ding-dong."
All right, we've got our first one here.
Excellent.
They have requested specifically Chapter 7 from the infamous fanfic My Immortal.
Oh,
I have looked up for you.
Fantastic.
So there you go.
So Jim Gaffigan does do the job. Chapter 7, Bring Me to Life. Author's note, well, okay, guys, I'm only done writing this because I got 5 God reviews. In BTW, I won't write the next chapter until I get 10 Godvons. Stow flaming or I'll report you. Evany isn't a Mary Sue, okay? She's perfect. She isn't perfect, she's a Satanist. And she has problems, she's depressed for God's sake. Draco and I held our pale white hands with black nail polish as we went upstairs. I was wearing red Satanist sings on my nails in a red nail polish. Author's note. See those that sound like a Mary Sue to you? I waved to Vampire. Dark misery was in his depressed eyes. I guess he was jealous of me that I was going out with Draco. Anyway, I went upstairs excitedly with Draco. We went into his room and locked the door. Then we started Frenching passively, and we took off each other's clothes enthusiastically. He felt me up before I took off my top. Then I took off my black leather bra and he took off his pants. We went on the bed and started making out naked, and then he put his boy's thingy in mine, and we had sex. Stupid. Oh, Draco, Draco, I screamed, while getting an orgasm when all of a sudden I saw a tattoo I had never seen before on Draco's arm. It was a black heart with an arrow through it. On it in bloody Gothic writing were the words, Vampire. So angry. You bastard, I shouted angrily, jumping out of the bed. No, but you don't understand, Draco pleaded. But I knew too much. No, you fucking idiot, I shouted. You probably have AIDS anyway. Clothes all huffily and then stomped out. Draco ran out even though he was naked. He had a really big you-know-what, but I was too mad to care. I stomped out and did so until I was in Vampire's classroom, where he was having a lesson with Professor Snape and some other people. Who's Vampire? Oh, excuse me, this next sentence explains it. God, I just gotta keep my mouth shut. Vampire Potter, you motherfucker! I yelled. Chapter 8. Oh, she posted 3 chapters at once. That's not how this website works. Stop flashing, okay, if you do de-prep. Everyone in the class stared at me, and then Draco came into the room even though he was naked and started begging me to take him back. Ebony, it's not what you think, Draco screamed sadly. My friend Bloody Mary Smith smiled at me understatedly. She flipped her long, waist-length Gothic black hair and opened her crimson eyes like blood that she was wearing contact lenses on. Pale white skin that she was wearing white makeup on. Hermione was kidnapped when she was born? Her real parents are vampires, and one of them is a witch, but Voldemort killed her mother and her father committed suicide because he was depressed about it. Reasonable reaction. She still has nightmares about it, and she is very haunted and depressed. It also turns out her real last name is Smith and not Granger. Since she has converted to Satanism, she is in Slytherin now, not Gryffindor. What is it that you desire, you ridiculous dimwit? Snape demanded. Oh, excuse me. What is it you desire, you ridiculous dimwit? Snape demeaned angrily in his cold voice, but I ignored him. Vampire, I can't believe you cheated on me with Draco, I shouted at him. Everyone gasped. I don't know why Ebony was so mad at me. I had wet out with Vampire, I'm bi and so is Ebony, for a while, but then he broke my heart. He dumped me because he liked Brittany, a stupid preppy fucker. We were just good friends now. He had gone through horrible problems, and now he was Gothic. Haha, like I would hang out with a prep. But I'm not going out with Draco anymore, said Vampire. Yeah, fucking right. Fuck off, you bastard, I screamed. I ran out of the room and into the Forbidden Forest where I had lost my virility to Draco, and then I started to burst into tears. Chapter 9.
All right, we've got another one.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had a pledge increase by LOTR fan. So we are going to do the, there's a poem about the Lonely Mountain in the beginning of The Hobbit.
Ooh.
Grab that, take the poem. And just in case anybody's unclear on the process here, our pledge increase or a new backer, you can buy 5 minutes of whatever you would like for Alex to read from this selection here. For $20, you can buy 15 minutes. So for not much more, you get a lot more time. And for $50 or more, you can get a custom personalized recording that we will deliver to you after the live stream. So if you want Alex to record you a dope voicemail message, or if you want Alex to record something scary to like send to somebody you don't like, we'll totally do that too. Whatever it is, just let us know. Also, if you have something specific that you would like us to read that's not on the list in the link below, you can also send us a link to something that is available for free in a digital format, and I will have Alex read it off of our phone. The cost is the same, whatever you would like. And if you would like to send us a link, you can either post it in the chat or you can send it to Super Academy, the web series message group on Facebook. You can post it at the event, or you can send it as a direct message to us. It's pretty easy for us to see those. We're monitoring those as the stream's going on. Were you able to find it?
I believe so. That's the one that starts far over the misty mountains cold.
We'll find out, I suppose.
I certainly hope so, because it is quite long and sounds very nice. I remember this was also in the trailers for the movie.
Yep, and this was a decent increase, so you've got 15 minutes worth of The Hobbit.
Excellent. The dark filled all the room, and the fire died down, and the shadows were lost, and still they played on. And suddenly, first one and then another dwarf began to sing as they played, deep-throated singing of the dwarves in the deep places of their ancient homes. And this is like a fragment of their song, if it can be like their song without their music. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and cavern old, we must away ere the break of day, to seek the pale enchanted gold. The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells, in places deep where dark things sleep, in hollow halls beneath the fells. For ancient king and elvish lord, there many a gleaming golden hoard, they shaped and wrought and lit they caught, and light they caught to hide in gems on hilt of sword. On silver necklaces they strung the flowering stars, on crowns they hung the dragon fire in twisted wire, they meshed the light of moon and sun. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere the break of day, to claim our long-forgotten gold. Goblets they carved there for themselves, and harps of gold where no man delves. There lay they long, and many a song was sung unheard by men or elves. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread, the trees like torches blazed with light. The bells were ringing in the dale, and men looked up with faces pale. Then dragons' ire, more fierce than fire, laid low their towers and houses frail. The mountains smoked beneath the moon, the dwarves they heard the tramp of doom. They fled their hall to dying fall, beneath his feet, beneath the moon. Far over the misty mountains grim, to dungeons deep and caverns dim, we must away ere the break of day, to win our harps and gold from him. As they sang, the hobbit felt the love of beautiful things made by hands and by cunning, and by magic moving through him, a fierce and jealous love, the desire of the hearts of dwarves. Then something tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see the great mountains, and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls, and explore the caves and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. He looked out of the window. The stars were out in a dark sky above the trees. He thought of the jewels of the dwarves shining in dark caverns. Beyond the water, a flame leapt up. Probably somebody lighting a wood fire, and he thought of plundering dragons settling on his quiet hill and kindling it all to flames. He shuddered, and very quickly he was plain Mr. Baggins of Bag End Underhill yet again. He got up trembling. He had less than half a mind to fetch the lamp, and more than half a mind to pretend to, and go and hide behind the beer barrels in the cellar, and not come out again until all the dwarves had gone away. Suddenly he found that the music and the singing had stopped, and they were all looking at him with eyes shining in the dark. "Where are you going?" said Thorin, in a tone that seemed to show that he guessed both halves of the hobbit's mind. "What about a little light?" said Bilbo apologetically. "We like the dark," said all the dwarves. "Dark for dark business. There are many hours before dawn." "Of course," said Bilbo, and sat down in a hurry. He missed the stool and sat in the fender, knocking over the poker and shovel with a crash. "Hush," said Gandalf. "Let Thorin speak." And this is how Thorin began. "Gandalf, dwarves, and Mr. Baggins, we are met together in the house of our friend and fellow conspirator, this most excellent and audacious hobbit. May the hair on his toes never fall out. All praise to his wine and ale." He paused for breath and for a polite remark from the hobbit, but the compliments were quite lost on poor Bilbo Baggins, who was wearing his mouth in protest at being called audacious, and worst of all, fellow conspirator. Though no noise came out, he was so flummoxed. On. "We are met to discuss our plans, our ways, means, policy, and devices. We shall soon, before the break of day, start on our long journey, a journey from which some of us, or perhaps all of us, except our friend and counselor, the ingenious wizard Gandalf, may never return. It is a solemn moment. Our object is, I take it, well known to us all. To the estimable Mr. Baggins, and perhaps one or two of the younger dwarves, I think I should be right in naming Kiri and Fili in this instance, the exact situation at the moment may require a little brief explanation." This was Thorin's style. He was an important dwarf. If he had been allowed, he would have probably gone on like this until he was out of breath without telling anyone there anything that was not known already. But he was rudely interrupted. Poor Bilbo couldn't bear it any longer. In turn, he began to feel a shriek coming up inside, and very soon it burst out like the whistle of an engine coming out of a tunnel. All the dwarves sprang up, knocking over the table. Gandalf struck a blue light on the end of his magic staff, and in its firework glare the poor little hobbit could be seen kneeling on the hearthrug, shaking like a jelly that was melting. Then he fell flat on the floor and kept on calling out, "Struck by lightning! Struck by lightning!" over and over again, and that was all they could get out of him for a long time. So they took him and laid him out of the way on the drawing-room sofa with a drink at his elbow, and they went back to their dark business. "Excitable little fellow," said Gandalf as they sat down again. "Gets funny, queer fits, but he is one of the best. One of the best. As fierce as a dragon in a pinch." If you have ever seen a dragon in a pinch, you will realize that this was only poetical exaggeration applied to any hobbit, even to old Took's great-granduncle Bull-Roarer, who was so huge, for a hobbit, that he could ride a horse. He charged the ranks of the goblins on Mount Graham in the Battle of the Green Fields, and knocked their king Golfimble's head clean off with a wooden club. It sailed 100 yards through the air and went down a rabbit hole, and in this way the battle was won, and the game of golf invented at the same moment. However, Bull-Roarer's gentler descendant was reviving in the drawing-room. After a while and a drink, he crept nervously to the door of the parlor. This is what he heard, Gloin speaking. "Rumph!" or some snort more or less like that. "Will he do you think? It is all very well for Gandalf to talk about this hobbit being fierce, but one shriek like that in a moment of excitement would be enough to wake the dragon and all his relatives and kill the lot of us. I think it sounded more like fright than excitement. In fact, if it had not been for the sign on the door, I should have been sure that we'd come to the wrong house. As soon as I clapped my eyes on the little fellow bobbing and puffing on the mat, I had my doubts. He looks more like a grocer than a burglar." Then Mr. Baggins turned the handle and went in. The Took side had won. He suddenly felt as though he would go without bed and breakfast to be thought fierce. As for little fellow bobbing on the mat, it almost made him really fierce. Many a time afterwards, the Baggins part regretted what he did now, and he said to himself, "Bilbo, you were a fool. You walked right in and put your foot in it." "Pardon me," he said, "if I have overheard the words that you were saying. I don't pretend to understand what you are talking about, or your references to burglars, but I think I am right in believing," this is what he called being on his dignity, "that you think I am a no-good. I will show you. I have no signs on my door. It was painted a week ago, and I am quite sure that you have come to the wrong house. As soon as I saw your funny faces on the doorstep, I had my doubts, but treat it as the right one. Tell me what you want done, and I will try it, if I have to walk from here to the east of the east and fight the wild werewolves in the last desert. I had a great-great-granduncle once Bull-roarer took, and yes, but that was long ago," said Gloin. "I was talking about you, and I assure you there is a mark on this door, the usual one in the trade, or used to be. Burglar wants a good job, plenty of excitement, and reasonable reward. That's how it's usually read. You can say expert treasure hunter instead of burglar if you like. Some of them do. It's all the same to us. Gandalf told that there was a man of the sort in these parts looking for a job at once, and that he had arranged for a meeting here this Wednesday, tea time." "Of course there's a mark," said Gandalf. "I put it there myself, for very good reasons. You asked me to find the 14th man for your expedition, and I chose Mr. Baggins. Just let anyone say I chose the wrong man or the wrong house, and you can stop at 13 and have all the bad luck you like, or go back to digging coal." He yelled so angrily at Gloin that the dwarf huddled back in his chair, and when Bilbo tried to open his mouth to ask a question, he turned and frowned at him and stuck out his bushy eyebrows till Bilbo shut his mouth tight with a snap. "That's right," said Gandalf. "Let's have no more argument. I have chosen Mr. Baggins, and that ought to be enough for all of you. If I say he is a burglar he is or will be when the time comes. There's a lot more in him than you guess, and a deal more than he has any idea of himself. You may, possibly, all live to thank me yet. Now, Bilbo, my boy, fetch the lamp and let's have a little light on this." On the table, in the light of a big lamp with red shade, he spread a piece of parchment, rather like a map. "This was made by Thror, your grandfather, Thorin," he said, in answer to the dwarves' excited questions. "It is a plan of the mountain." "I don't see that this will help us much," said Thorin, disappointedly after a glance. "I remember the mountain well enough and the lands about it, and I know where Mirkwood is and the Withered Heath where the great dragons breed." "There is a dragon marked in red on the mountains," said Balin, "but it will be easy enough to find him without that, if we ever arrive there." "There is one point you haven't noticed," said the wizard, "and that is the secret entrance. You see that rune on the west side, and the hand pointing to it from the other runes? That marks the hidden passage of the lower halls. Look at the map at the beginning of this book, and you will see there the runes in red. Possibly not red." "It may have been secret once," said Thorin, "but how do we know that it is secret any longer? Old Smaug has lived there long enough now to find out anything there is to know about those caves. He may, but he can't have used it for years and years." "Why?" "Because it is too small. 5 feet high the door, and 3 may walk abreast, say the runes. But Smaug could not creep into a hole that size, not even when he was a young dragon. Certainly not after devouring so many of the dwarves and men of the Dale." "It seems like a great big hole to me," squeaked Bilbo, who had no experience of dragons and only of hobbit holes. He was getting excited and interested again, so that he forgot to keep his mouth shut. He loved maps, and in his hall there hung a large one of the county road with all his favorite walks marked on it in red ink. "How could such a large door be kept secret from everybody outside, apart from the dragon?" he asked. "He was only a little hobbit, you must remember." "In a lot of ways," said Gandalf. "In what way this one has been hidden we don't know without going to see. From what it says on the map, I should guess there is a closed door which has been made to look exactly like the side of the mountain. That is the usual dwarves' method. I think that is right, isn't it?" "Quite right," said Thorin. "Also," went on Gandalf, "I forgot to mention that with the map went a key, a small and curious key. Here it is," he said, and handed to Thorin a key with a long barrel and intricate wards made of silver. "Keep it safe." "Indeed I will," said Thorin, and he fastened it upon a fine chain that hung about his neck and under his jacket. Now things begin to look more hopeful. This news alters them much for the better. So far, we have had no clear idea what to do. We thought of going east as quiet and careful as we could as far as the Long Lake, and after that the trouble would begin. Long time before that, if I know anything about the roads east, interrupted Gandalf. We might want to go there, up along the river running, went on Thorin, taking no notice, and so to the ruins of Dale, the old town in the valley there, under the shadow of the mountain. But none of us like the idea of the front gate. The river runs right out of it through the great cliff at the south of the mountain, and out of it comes the dragon, too. Far too often, unless he has changed his habits. That would be no good, said the wizard, not without a mighty warrior, even a hero. I tried to find one, but warriors are busy fighting one another in distant lands, and in this neighborhood heroes are scarce, or simply not to be found. Swords in these parts are mostly blunt, and axes are used for trees, and shields as cradles or dish covers, and dragons are comfortably far off, and therefore legendary. That is why I settled on burglary, especially when I remembered the existence of a side door. And here is our little Bilbo Baggins, the burglar, the chosen and selected burglar. So now let's get on and make some plans. Very well then, said Thorin, supposing the burglar expert gives us some ideas or suggestions. He turned with mock politeness to Bilbo. First, I should like to know a bit more about things, said he, feeling all confused and a bit shaky inside, but so far still tookishly determined to go on with things. I mean, about the gold and the dragon and all that, and how it got there, and who it belongs to, and so on and further. Bless me, said Thorin. Haven't you got a map? And didn't you hear our song? And haven't we been talking about all this for hours? All the same, I should like it plain and clear, said he obstinately, putting on his business manner, usually reserved for people who tried to borrow money off of him, and doing his best to appear wise and prudent and professional and live up to Gandalf's recommendation. Also, I should like to know about risks, out-of-pocket expenses, time required, and remuneration and so forth, by which he meant, what am I going to get out of it? And am I going to come back alive? Oh, very well, said Thorin. Long ago, in my grandfather Thror's time, our family was driven out of the far north, and came back with all their wealth and their tools to this mountain on the map. It had been discovered by my far ancestor Thrain the Old, but now they mined and they tunneled and they made hunger halls and great workshops. And in addition, I believe they found a good deal of gold and a great many jewels, too. Anyway, they grew immensely rich and famous, and my grandfather was king under the mountain again, and treated with great reverence by the mortal men who lived to the south and were gradually spreading up the running river as far as the valley overshadowed by the mountain. They built the merry town of Dale there in those days. Kings used to send for our smiths and reward even the least skillful most richly. Fathers would beg us to take their sons as apprentices and pay us handsomely, especially in food supplies, which we never bothered to grow or find for ourselves. Although those were good days for us, and the poorest of us had money to spend and to lend, and leisure was to make beautiful things just for the fun of it, not to speak of the marvelous and magical toys, the like of which is not to be found in the world nowadays. So my grandfather's halls became full of armor and jewels and carvings and cups, and the toy market of Dale was the wonder of the north. And I've been told that is time.
Yes. All right. So we've got now actually in the past 15 minutes.
Good Lord.
We have raised an astonishing $600. So thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you. Good Lord.
So we are going to we're going to do a couple more here. John Painter has requested some more fan fiction of a different variety. So we are going to do some
I should probably hold my own applause.
Yeah, so we're going to do some of that. Alex, if you need a minute, that's totally fine. I can kind of explain stuff again.
That would be fantastic.
You want more drink? There's
yes, please. The fancy drink of choice for the discerning gentleman. I held it up without the label.
Yeah. So the concept that we have for tonight is that Alex, our wonderful voice, our wonderful human being, is at your disposal. And our idea was that you can back us or increase your back if you've already got a back. You know, if you're backing us already, you can increase your pledge, and Alex will read for you something of your choice. We have a list that's posted down below, as well as a link to the Kickstarter, so you know where to back. Or if you want, you can also send us something of your choice. It's $10 for 5 minutes of whatever you want. It'd be $20 for 15 minutes of whatever you would like, which is what we have coming up next. And $50 or more also gets you a custom message that we're going to record after the live stream and we'll send to you. So you'll have something to do with pretty much whatever it is that you want us to do. So I'll check in with Alex here. Are you ready for more?
I believe I am.
All right. So we have some fan fiction that John Painter sent us. So we've got 15 minutes of a fan fiction entitled "Samus is Pregnant."
Oh dear!
Fair warning, guys. This one it gets gross.
Oh no! It's the unrated edition.
Yeah.
You all have very good taste. Samus is Pregnant, the unrated edition. Samus and Ridley had been going out for 6 months now. It was a coincidence, considering that most teenage relationships exist for 2 months, according to a video. Everyone was really surprised because they hadn't expected the relationship to last so long. But even Sames or Ridley thought it would last so long, and that says things. Right now, Samus and Ridley were at Ridley's house. Ridley's parents weren't at home because of a business trip, and Samsu didn't have to be home until 1 o'clock. Right now, it was only 11:30. They were on the couch, and it was quiet. So, Samus, what do you think of, world politics? Ridley made conversely. Ridley, I don't care about things like that, Samus asserted. Ah, Ridley admitted. There was a kind of silence that happens when people don't know what to say to each other in a relationship, but Ridley has something in his mind. Samus? Ridley approached. Yes, Ridley, Samus question answered. You know how, well, we've been going out for a long time? Longer than the average, and, well, I agree, Samus nodded. Well, you know how, you see, Ridley seemed unholy. Distressingly apt. Ridley, I don't understand what you mean, Samus understood. Samus, are you sure about? Ridley started, but it was too late. The train had started to roll, and it was impossible to stop. Teen hormones are a problem, and they can lead to more than is bargained for. Samus and Ridley found out the hard way. Samus wheeged Ridley and kissed him on the lips. Then Ridley kissed her back. Samus now proceeded to take off her clothes so that she was now naked. Ridley did so as well. There was a second because it was awkward to not have any clothes in front of your significant other. Ridley, are you sure about this? Samus nudely pondered, and Ridley answered by kissing her neck. Samus could not take it anymore because there was much sexual tension. She grabbed onto Otto Ridley and started to sex him up. Ridley was going insane and could barely handle the pressure. This continued until they broke down all barriers and began to have sexual intercourse. They love-made for 10 minutes, but it was over far too quickly than it had started. Too quick for comfort, as Samus was soon to learn. The hard way. Very large number of ones. The next morning, Samus wasn't sure where she was. Then she remembered she was at Ridley's house. Then she noticed she was in Ridley's bed. Then she noticed that she was naked. Ah! Samus woke up the whole neighborhood. Samus, is something wrong? Ridley noticed as he woke up. Oh no, he fearfully exclaimed. Ridley, what if Samus worried, Ridley was cooler and didn't lose his cool. It's okay. My friend told me it can't happen the first time, so never worry. It's okay, Ridley ascertained. Okay, Seamus tried to convince herself. After all, who doesn't think it could happen? It could happen after just one time. Unfortunately, they were dead wrong. It had been some weeks, and Samus was at Helen's house. Mandy and 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 were there too. It was the morning, and Samus was feeling a little sick. The problem was everyone else was healthy in her friends and family, so it wasn't likely the cold or the cholera. Something was up, and Helen was about ready to explode. Samus, I think we have an emergency, Helen imploded. Okay, calm down, Mandy controlled. She was the kind of girls who could keep their cool in a disaster. Samus, we are all worried, but there's only one Wyatt. Oh, be sure, implied Mandy. Samus looked at her feet. But where do I get one on those? Samus speculated. 111 Samus Ridley 4 EVA 2006 broke the silence. I have one, 111 Samus Ridley 4 EVA 2006 made known. She reached in her black handbag and picked up a small wrapper with something in it. Everyone was shrouded in disbelief. 111 Samus Ridley 4 EVA 2006? Why do you have a pregnancy test in your pocket? Helen posed. Everyone except 111 Samus Ridley 4 EVA 2006 thought it was a reasonable question. 111 Samus Ridley 4 EVA 2006 rolled her eyes. Dude, I have a life, you know. 111 Samus Ridley 4 EVA 2006 controversially declared. Okay then, Helen calmed down. The only way to be safe is, well... Samus, are you ready? Helen pried. Samus was not ready, but it was the only way she could be safe. Okay, Samus decided. It's time. Samus was in Helen's bathroom. She couldn't believe this was happening. Think about it. Samus tried to calm down, but it was too hard. Only 2 minutes. 1 minute. Samus held her breath and took a look. Oh. Oh, no, 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 Samus distrucited. Say it ain't so. Somewhere in the town, a phone was ringing. It was Ridley's cell phone. Ridley picked it up. Hello? Ridley answered. He was confused because on the other end of the phone there was silence. Then he heard Samus say 4 words that would change her life. Ridley, I'm pregnant.
Oh,
my life has been changed forever.
Is that the end?
Yes, that is it. Thanks, guys. Metroid High School is on short break for right now, and it'll be back soon. Thanks to all fans like Cervantes and Game Dude and Metroid 13.
Oh, my God.
That was fantastic.
That was freaking funny. All the way through. Trying not to. Okay.
The hardest part of doing those is not laughing myself.
Right. I figured as much. Oh, man.
It's also great when you're in the middle of a sentence and realize what you're just about to say.
John says that was well worth $20. So,
I'm glad it was.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. Got more people in the chat now, so welcome everybody who's joined us. If you haven't checked out the link below in the description, you can see all the stuff that we can do there, and that we can do. It's pretty cool. We've got one more that's in the wait. It's real short, so not going to take too long. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Mobile is not as good as the desktop interface.
It never is.
Blue Dragon 5 is commenting on how classy our setup is. I'm glad you love our very real fireplace and our cheap lighting.
It is very toasty.
Yeah. You can really hear the heat coming off of it. All right, I think I found it here. It's an incredible piece of literature. It's not very long, but let me tell you.
Man and girl go out to drive under moonlight. They stop at a side of road. He turned to his girl and say, "Baby, I love you very much." "What is it, honey?" "Our car is broken down. I think the engine is broken. I'll walk and get some more fuel." "Okay, I'll stay here and look after our stereo. There have been news report of stereos being stolen." "Good idea. Keep the doors locked no matter what. I love you, Sweaty." So the guy left to get full for the car. After 2 hours, the girl say, "Where is my baby? He was supposed to be back by now." Then the girl hear a scratching sound and voice say, "Let me in." The girl doesn't do it, and then after a while she goes to sleep. Wakes up and find her boyfriend still not there. She gets out to check and man door hand hook car door.
That's it.
Spooky.
It's like the worst retelling of that urban legend ever. It's so good, though.
Well.
So, we run out of stuff that people have requested here, which means that you can have your thing read immediately. And if we don't get something coming back in, then we're just going to have Alex keep reading My Immortal. So, I mean, you're going to have to come up with something. We've got some... I collected some, like, really weird, dumb books to put in there. Like... One of my friends gave me the novelization of Suicide Squad.
I was going to ask.
Which I think is the funniest shit I've ever seen. So, oh man, there's some good stuff in there though too. If you want something more, traditionally awesome, we've got World War Z. We've got some collected tales by Lovecraft. We've got A Light in the Attic by Shel Silverstein. We've got William Shakespeare's Star Wars, which is pretty cool. It's like a Star Wars, but written in Shakespeare's style, the iambic pentameter, which is pretty cool. Or you can have us read something else. We also have some, like, classy pulp trash in the form of Outlander. It's all kinds of fun stuff.
You guys crave savory, smoky, high fantasy romance.
Oh boy. All right. Alex, are you still good to go?
I think so.
All right. I'm afraid I have to hand you another chapter of my...
I'm going to actually delay that very quickly.
Okay.
I have these 2 shortest horror stories in the world.
Okay.
Shortest horror story in the world. The last man on Earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock at the door.
Gasp!
Now the shortest. The last man on Earth sat alone in a room. There was a lock on the door.
That's funny.
Anything to keep me from having to read this fic, man.
All right. Papa Ken might be hopping in here.
Oh, boy.
We'll have to see. We'll give it a couple minutes. So, while we're waiting here, if you could do, like, any voiceover gig for a non-narrative project, what would it be?
Well, I mean, ever since I was little, I wanted to do movie trailers. That would be one of my dream choices. One that I would certainly not choose is automated phone menus. That is, unfortunately, the bread and butter of the voiceover community. And believe me, you will be repeating a lot of very, very mundane phrases for things you would have no idea people would be calling in for.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be a little tough.
It's not tough so much as just with my life. I realize that's probably about the most pretentious way I could have possibly expressed that. But, yeah.
All right, we've got a new pledge. All right. What would you like us to read?
To whom do we owe the pleasure?
Papa Ken.
Excellent. It's him after all.
Waiting.
I apologize if I have a strange facial expression. I'm absolutely fascinated by this painting of an astronaut being drawn towards a giant eye in the vortex of space.
pretty cool. It was done by some friends of ours. Actually, if you paid attention to the first Kickstarter that we did for Super Academy Season 1, we did a couple of character creation live streams. One of those, we had an artist named Charles Price on it. That was a while ago. But Charles did a couple of paintings that are on my wall in my room, along with another artist, John Ratchwell. So, yeah, we've got a couple of their paintings. Kind of fun, semi-surrealist sci-fi and fantasy stuff. All right, Papa Ken is picking. Said, give me a minute. Moment of truth.
Excellent.
Will it be good? Will it be trash? Will it be somewhere in between?
That would have been the perfect moment for me to do the Willy Wonka is the Grizzly Reaper moaning poem thing. If only I could remember it. Alas, my brain is full of useless Warhammer 40,000 facts.
We've got another one lined up after this as well.
Excellent!
All right, we might have another quick one here while we're waiting.
Excellent.
Let me see if I can pull it up for you here.
Boy.
All right, there it is.
A girl was walking to school when with her BF and they were crossing the road. She said, "Bibbs, will you love me forever?" He said, "No!" The girl cried and ran across the road before the green man came on the sign. Boy was crin and went to pick up her body. She was dead. He whispered to her corpse, "I meant to say I will love you 5 ever." That mean he love her more than forever. Like this, if you cry every time.
I cry every time. With joy. That we get to do this great dumb thing.
This is most fantastic.
All right. One of our other backers who still has some time here is requesting Full Life Consequences. A classic.
Yes. Oh, man.
Let me see if I can bring that up here.
That's taking me back to high school.
Yeah.
I'm so old.
One of the most popular fanfics ever. Okay. All right, there you go, my good man.
Thank you.
We're still waiting on Papa Ken, but that one is yours for the moment.
Half-Life, Full Life Consequences. John Freeman, who was Gordon Freeman's brother, was one day in an office typing on a computer. He got an email from his brother that said aliens and monsters were attacking his place and asked him for help, so he went. John Freeman got his computer shut down and went on the platform to go up to the roof of the building where he left his motorcycle and normal people clothes because he was in his office lab coat. John Freeman got on his motorcycle and said, "It's time for me to live up to my family name and face full life consequences." So he had to go. John Freeman ramped off the building and did a backflip and landed. He kept driving down the road and made sure there was no zombies around because he didn't have weapons. The countrysides were nice and the plants were singing and the birds and the moon was almost down from the top of the sky. The mood was set for John Freeman's quest to help his brother where he was. John Freeman looked around the countryside and said, "It's a good day to do what has to be done by me and help my brother to defeat the enemies." John Freeman was late, so he had to drive really fast. A cop car was hidden nearby, so when John Freeman went by, the cops came and wanted to give him a ticket. Here, John Freeman saw the first monster because the cop was possessed and had head crabs. "License officer," John Freeman said. "Why not?" said a head crab officer back to John Freeman. "Because you are a head crab zombie." So John Freeman shot the officer in the head and drove off thinking, "My brother is in trouble there," and went faster. He had to go faster like the speed of sound, and he got there fast because Gordon needed him where he was. John Freeman looked at road signs and saw Ravenholm with some on's writing under it saying, "You shouldn't come here." So John Freeman almost turned around and buttered screaming like Gordon, so he went faster again. John Freeman drove in and did another flip and jumped off his motorbike, and the motorbike took out some head crab zombies in front of John Freeman. John Freeman smiled and walked fast. John Freeman then looked on the ground and found weapons, so he picked it up and fired fast at zombie ghosts in front of a house. John Freeman said, "Zombie ghosts, leave this place." And the zombie ghosts said, "But this is our house." And John Freeman felt sorry for them because they couldn't live there anymore because they were zombie ghosts. So he blew up the house and killed the zombie ghosts, so they were at peace. Freeman had another scream from his brother, so he kept walking really fast to get where he was. Ravenholm was nothing like the countrysides. There was no birds singing, and the pants were dead, and the dirt was messy and bloody from head crabs. When John Freeman got to where the screaming was started from, he found his brother Gordon Freeman fighting the final boss. And Gordon said, "John Freeman, over here!" So John Freeman went there to where Gordon Freeman was fighting. John Freeman fired his bullet from the gun really fast, and the bullets went and shot the final boss in the eyes, and the final boss couldn't see. Gordon Freeman said, "It's time to end this once and for all," and punched the final boss in the face, and the final boss fell. John Freeman said, "Thanks, I could help, bro." And Gordon Freeman said, "You should come here earlier next time." And they laughed. They laughed over it quickly, though, because John Freeman yelled, "Look out, bro!" and pointed up to the top of the sky. Gordon Freeman looked up and said, "No! John Freeman, run out of here as fast as you can." And John Freeman walked real fast out. John Freeman walked back and saw Gordon get stepped on by the next boss, and he was mad and angry. "I'll get you back, evil boss!" John Freeman yelled at the top of lungs. To be continued?
All right, we've got Papa Ken's in here. Let me see if I can bring it up.
Outstanding.
He has selected a selection of several different things. Which you will see. It's pretty good. Just bringing it up here.
Attention, mounts in the control room.
There it is. Load, load, load. I don't have 3 computers using the internet and live stream also.
Your Wi-Fi isn't horribly stretched.
Yeah. All right, you might want to preface with what these are first.
All right.
Here you go, Papa Ken.
25 of the best anti-jokes ever. 1. A horse walked into a bar. Several people got up and left as they spotted the potential danger in the situation. 2. Yo mama's so fat she should be concerned because diabetes is a serious problem. 3. How do you confuse a blonde? Paint yourself green and throw forks at her. 4. Ask me if I am an orange. Are you an orange? Nope, I'm a person. 5. A priest, a rabbi, and a Muslim cleric walk into a bar. The cleric, having abstained from alcohol due to religious constrictions, does not drink, and his friends decide to do the same, and having a good time. 6. Why does Michael J. Fox make the best milkshakes? He uses the finest ingredients. 7. What do you call a black man on the moon? An astronaut. 8. What's red and smells like blue paint? Red paint. 9. A gorilla walks into a bar and orders a banana martini. The bartender thinks this is a little peculiar and then becomes aware that he is actually dreaming. He wakes up from his dream and begins to tell his wife about the ridiculous dream he had. His wife just ignores him. The man rolls over and begins to sob because he realizes his marriage is in shambles. 10. I still remember the last words my grandpa said before he kicked the bucket. He said, "Hey, how far do you think I can kick this bucket?" 11. A group of Mexicans are in the back of a car. They were carpooling to save on gas. 12. A man walks into a bar. His alcohol dependency is tearing his family apart. I like how that's the one that starts to get me to crack. 13. I like my coffee like my women without a penis. 14. An owl and a squirrel are sitting in a tree, watching a farmer go by. The owl turns to the squirrel and says nothing, because owls can't talk. The owl then eats the squirrel, because it's a bird of prey. 15. What's red and bad for your teeth? Brick. 16. Yo, mom is so ugly that your father no longer finds her attractive, and now their marriage is in trouble. 17. Why didn't Jesus play hockey? Because baseball and soccer are much more popular sports in Mexico. 18. What's green and has wheels? Grass. I lied about the wheels. 19. What do a duck and a bicycle have in common? They both have handlebars, except for the duck. 20. What do a banana and a helicopter have in common? Neither of them is a police officer. 21. What do you call a black man who flies a plane? A pilot. 22. Did I say 12? 22. Why isn't Helen Keller a good driver? Because she's dead. 23. Why couldn't the dinosaur break through the brick wall? Good question. 24. What do you get when you cross a joke with a rhetorical question? 25. Why did the old woman put rainbow roller skates on her walker? She has dementia. I don't know. Some of those were dangerously close to jokes.
All right, let me load up the next one here.
I have to say, I appreciate that most drinks I drink don't have penises.
Anything more to drink? Are you doing good?
I'm good on that.
Okay. Here's our next one from Dove.
Dove, this is your fault. Oh my.
It's going to get tawdry.
Could you please stop crying? Your tears are getting in my mouth and it's disgusting, she said. I couldn't help it, though. I had started thinking about the series finale of The Office in an attempt to forestall my ejaculation, and it made me really sad. Every girl who I had ever been with had voiced serious complaints, not only about my inadequate size, but about the alarmingly short length of the time it took before I released my gravy into their bodies. I knew that I couldn't make my penis any larger unless I bought one of those fancy stretching machines, and I certainly couldn't afford one with my current financial situation. Please stop automatically scrolling. The current financial situation, so I figured that I could at least try to make it last longer. Maybe she won't feel so disappointed and repulsed if she has time to sit back and relax and enjoy herself, I thought. But as soon as my nearly translucent phallus touched her soft, buttery skin, I knew that I was about to lose control. That's why I started thinking about the last episode of The Office. I needed something to distract myself with. Jokes, the bad acting, and the embarrassingly overdone tying up of every possible loose end. It was working. I was still mushing my earthworm-shaped reproductive tube into her forgiving hole, and I hadn't released my frothy, yellowish semen yet. Success! I continued focusing on that final episode. I thought about how I would never be able to watch Jim and Pam's kids grow up. I thought about how I would never get to find out if Oscar found love. I thought about how bad of a character Aaron was. That's when I started crying. I tried to hold back the tears, but if I stopped focusing on the sadness, the slime would begin rising in my loins. It proved impossible for me to find a balance between prematurely emptying myself into this poor girl and weeping as if I had just seen a family member burn to death. I had a tough decision to make. Do I allow myself to continue thinking about the last episode of The Office and really start crying? Or do I take my mind off of it and pump this emaciated, bored girl full of my diseased fluids? I rode. I thought about how sad Toby was all the time, and about how bad of an artist Pam was. The tears rolled down my pockmarked cheeks, but at least I could continue with my weak, unsatisfying thrusts for a little while longer. You're not my friend anymore, Dove. I'm joking, I think.
Oh, man. That was intense. All right. She's having fun in the stream.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah. All right. So we are out of the list of ones that people have prepaid here.
Oh, dear.
Which means that our biggest backer of the last few hours we have to go back to. Which means that we have to go back to My Immortal. unless somebody wants to change that. Or I suppose we could let Alex pick something else if he wants.
I'm good with continuing My Immortal.
Why don't we give it a minute here? Just
Yes.
let them really stew in that idea for a minute.
Make your decisions, people.
Yeah.
I will, however, very quickly relieve myself.
Sure. I'm going to hop into the chair here. Hello, friends. I'm Jacob Gellifer. I'm co-writer, co-director on Super Academy. I'm delighted that you're all here and that you have come to make Alex read strange things and make Alex read some really cool things too. So I want to say thank you for that. So let me tell you a little bit about the process of what we're doing with season 2 and why we're running a Kickstarter, kind of why this is important to us and why we do this kind of stuff. So the original show started as a pilot. It was like a 20-minute short that Ben Lifson, a buddy of mine, did as a senior project in film school. And it was so much fun. We decided we have to make this into a series. We ran a Kickstarter. We got some money. We made some episodes. A way to make more sense. When we originally made the show, when we were in school, we could, use each other's favors, and we all worked on each other's projects. We had crew, we had locations, we had all that kind of stuff for free. Now, when we did season 1, a lot of people wanted to come back, and we had a lot of people who were really interested in the show, and they basically said, we'll work for you for free for this, and then next time you want to do a gig, just make sure that we get a little bit of money for it. So we've called in basically a bunch of favors to make season 1, which is why we got as high quality as we did for the budget that we did. And with season 2, we want to get ideally even better. We want to take it to the next level. We want to make something that's a step up and something that you guys will really, really enjoy. And to get there, we need to raise the money to do it, which is why we've been doing these kind of streams and posting more content on our Facebook and our Twitter and our other social media. But the ultimate goal is, to get people to show up and back us, and you can get some really great stuff for it. Not just reading these things. There's also really great rewards on our Kickstarter page. I'll show you one of our cool new ones here. You may have seen these are 3D printed Super Academy fridge magnets. You can also get a keychain if you would like. A smaller version of that. They look like this guy, which is kind of neat. And you can also get them in the color of your choice. So that's kind of cool. We've got an art print by Christopher Jones, which should be coming out. We'll post like a still of it as soon as we have the actual art back from him. It should be here in the next week or so. And then we've also got, a vocal cameo option in the rewards. You can get digital downloads of the show. You can get a t-shirt. You can get a Blu-ray. You can get a handful of other things. So long story short, thanks for showing up. I completely get that it's weird giving, your money to a stranger on the internet, but that's how we get this thing made, and we want to make it something where we can talk to you and interact with you, get feedback, and make something that you guys are really going to enjoy. That's the unique experience for us, and that's why we're going this route. So thanks for listening to the pitch, and I will let Alex hop back in and take over.
You all have to put up with me again.
I'm sure they're much more interested in you than in me.
I don't know, this purple suit puts people off.
All right. Let's see. All right, looks like we're back to My Immortal.
So it shall be.
There you go.
Chapter 9. Author's note. Stop flaming, okay? I didn't read all the books. This is from the movie, okay? So it's not my fault if Dumbledore swears. The Swedes, I said he has a headache. And the reason Snap doesn't lick Harry now is because he's Christian and Vampire is a Satanist. MCR rocks. I was so mad and sad. I couldn't believe Draco for cheating on me. I began to cry against the tree where I did it with Draco. Then all of a sudden, an horrible man with red eyes and no nose and everything started flying towards me on a broomstick. He didn't have a nose, basically like Voldemort in the movie, and he was wearing all black, but it was obvious he wasn't Gothic. It was Voldemort. No, I shouted in a scared voice, but then Voldemort shouted, Imperious, and I couldn't run away. Crookshanks, I shouted at him. Voldemort fell off his broom and started to scream. I felt bad for him, even though I'm a sadist, so I stopped. Ebony, he yelled, thou must kill Vampire Potter. I thought about Vampire and his sexa eyes and his gothic black hair and how his face looks just like Joel Madden. I remembered that Draco had said I didn't understand, so I thought, what if Draco went out with Vampire before I went out with him and they broke up? No, Voldemort, I shouted back. Voldemort gave me a gun. No, please, I begged. Thou must, he yelled. If thou dost not, then I shall kill thy beloved Draco. How did you know? I asked in a surprised way. Voldemort got a dude so retarded look on his face. I hath telekinesis, he answered cruelly. And if you doth not kill Vampire, then thou know what will happen to Draco, he shouted. Then he flew away angrily on his broomstick. I was so scared and mad I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, Draco came into the woods. Draco, I said. Hi. Hi, he said back, but his face was all sad. He was wearing white foundation and messy eyeliner, kind of like a pentagram. Get it? Between Joel Madden and Gerard Way. Are you okay? I asked. No, he answered. I'm sorry I got all mad at you, but I thought you cheated on me, I expelled. That's okay, he said, all depressed, and we went back into Hogwarts, together making out. Chapter 10. Author's note, stop it, you gay fags. If you do not like my story, then fuck off. Bis it turns out Bloody Mary isn't a muggle effort, all and she's a vampire, are evil, that's why they mobbed houses, okay? I was really scared about Voldemort all day. I was even upset, went to rehearsals with my gothic metal band, Bloody Gothic Rose 666. I am the lead singer of it, and I play guitar. People say we sound like a cross between GC, Slipknot, and MCR. The other people in the band are Bloody Mary, Vampire, Draco, Ron, although we call him Diabolo now. He has black hair now with blue streaks in it. And Hargrid. Only today, Draco and Vampire were depressed, so they weren't coming, and we wrote songs instead. I knew Draco was probably slitting his wrists. He wouldn't die because he was a vampire too, and the only way you kill a vampire is with a CROSS. There's no way I'm writing that, or a stake. And Vampire was probably watching a depressing movie like The Corpse Bride. I put on a black leather shirt that showed my boobs and tiny matching miniskirt that said Simple Plan on the butt. You might think I'm a slut, but I'm really not. We were singing a cover of Helena, and at the end of the song, I suddenly burst into tears. Ebony, are you okay? Bloody Mary asked in a concerted voice. What the fuck do you think? I asked angrily. And then I said, well, Voldemort came and the fucking bastard told me to fucking kill Harry. But I don't want to kill him, because he's really nice, even if he did go out with Draco. But if I don't kill Harry, then Voldemort will fucking kill Draco. I burst into tears. Suddenly, Draco jumped out from behind a wall. Why didn't you fucking tell me? He shouted. How could you fucking poser muggle bitch! See, is Dad out of character? I started to cry and cry. Draco started to cry too, all sensitive. Then he ran out crying. We practiced for 1 more hour. Then suddenly Dumbledore walked in angrily. His eyes were all fiery, and I knew this time it wasn't because he had a headache. What have you done? He started to cry wisely. See, that's basically not swearing, and this time he was really upset, and you will see why. Ebony Draco has been found in his room. He committed suicide by slitting his wrists. Chapter 11. Author's note. I said stop flaming, you preps! See if this chapter is stupid. Several ones. It deals with really serious issues, especially for yourselves if it's stupid, thanks to my friend Raven for helping me. No, I screamed. I was horrified. Bloody Mary tried to comfort me, but I told her to fuck off, and I ran to my room crying myself. Dumbledore chased after me and shouting, but he had to stop when I went into my room because he would look like a perv that way. Anyway, I started crying tears of blood, and then I slit both of my wrists. They got all over my clothes, so I took them off and jumped into the bath angrily while I put on a Linkin Park song at full volume. I grabbed a stake and almost stuck it into my heart to commit suicide. I was so fucking depressed. I got out of the bathtub and put on a black low-cut dress with lace all over it sandly. I put on black high heels with pink metal stuff on the ends and 6 pairs of skull earrings. I couldn't fucking believe it. Then I looked out the window and screamed. Snap was spying on me and he was taking a videotape of me. And Lupin was masticating to it. They were sitting on their broomsticks. Ew, you fucking pervs! Stop looking at me naked! Are you pedos or what? I screamed, putting on a black towel with a picture of Marilyn Mason on it. Suddenly, Vampire ran in. Abracadabra, he yelled at Snape and Lupin, pointing his womb. I took my gun and shot Snape and Lupin a gazillion times, and they both started screaming, and the camera broke. Suddenly, Dumbledore ran in. Ebony, it has been revealed that someone has... No! He shouted, looking at Snape and Lupin, and then waved his wand, and suddenly... Hagrid ran outside on his broom and said, everyone, we need to talk. What do you know, Hagrid? You're just a little Hogwarts student. I may be a Hogwarts student. Hagrid paused angrily. But I am also a Satanist. This cannot be, Snap said in a crisp voice as blood dripped from his hand where Dumbledore's wand had shot him. There must be other factors. You don't have any, I yelled in madly. Lupin held up the camera triumphantly. The lens may be ruined, but the tape is still in there. I felt faint, more than I normally do, like how it feels when you do not drink enough blood. Why are you doing this? Lupin said angrily while he rubbed his dirty hands on his cloak. And then I heard the words that I had heard before, but not from him. I did not know whether to feel shocked and happy or to bite him and drink his blood, because I felt faint. Because, Hagrid said, and then he paused in the air dramatically, waving his wand in the air. Then swooped he in, singing to the tune of a gothic version of a song by 50 Cent. Because you're gothic? Snap asked in a little afraid voice. Because he was afraid it meant he was connected with Satan. Because I love her! Chapter 12.
All right, we got to stop there.
Aw. Thank you, somebody, for saving us all from that.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
Okay. This is user's choice. So, Alex, you get to pick what you would like.
Oh, my. Well... After hearing your ringing endorsement of this book...
I only flipped through it briefly, so...
Well...
It doesn't look very good. Much like the movie.
1. June believed with absolute certainty that unless she successfully completed her mission by midnight the next day, her dreams were going to kill her. Staring past the thick jungle to the distant mountains shrouded in perpetual mist, shimmering in the blinding glow of dusk, She shivered at the thought that to reach its base they'd have to drive through the thick, often impassable vegetation for another 8 hours at least. I thought I stopped reading my immortal. Possibly much longer, and over a meandering, unmarked, and treacherous path. Then, once they made it through and found the base, they'd still have to locate the cave entrance. Unless, as she feared, it had been long buried and lost beneath the tangled undergrowth. Which, of course, meant she would die. What could possibly go wrong? June had already accepted the sad fact that the nightly dreams that forced her to this desert, and to this one in particular mountain, wouldn't end until she found whatever was waiting for her inside. Yeah, whatever is waiting. The woman who haunted her nights gave no clue as to why June was being compelled to leave her home and travel halfway around the world, all to search for some potentially non-existent will-o'-the-wisp. Yet if she wanted to live, and she did, June had no choice but to do as she was told. Told by a voice in a dream, June thought she just might be going off the deep end. By the time she pulled her rover to a stop, the mountain was hidden in total darkness. Night had an annoying way of falling all too fast here in the furthest corner of nowhere, and without convenient GPS towers to help guide them, they would definitely lose their way. To start again at dawn. Let's call it a day, she said. Cover the equipment and pitch the tents. Manuel and Louise, the two mountain guides she had worked with for the past several years, jumped from the open cargo bed. It was filled with all the necessities June needed for any manner of archaeological digs, and they stretched a protective canvas over them. Rainstorms were all too common in this area, as June had sadly learned on more than one previous expedition. Tomorrow's going to be a hell of a busy day, she added in Spanish. We have to find the cave before nightfall. We'll reach the mountains by afternoon, Louise said as he began to set up his tent, but your maps do not show where the cave is hidden. It could take many days more. I don't have several more days. Hell, Louise, I may not even have one full day. Tomorrow is do or literally die day. But Senorita, Manuel began. Before he could finish, June paused in setting up her own tent and turned towards the bulky man. Manuel, please, you know I just prefer June, or Dr. Moon if you keep insisting on being so damn formal. I know. We both know. It is habit to comfort the less informed. We only know of this region from your movies. We apologize, but I was about to say Luis and I will take you to the mountains as we promised, and to the cave. But as we told you, we cannot go beyond the opening rooms with you. I was hoping once we got there, your curiosity would change your mind. I really need you. Both of you, she added for emphasis. Luis hammered the final tent peg into the jungle floor, cleared his throat, and turned to his old friend. She does not understand, he said. I do not believe she can. He looked back to June and drew a long breath. Dr. Monroe, he continued, you know Manuel and I are not just guides. Our people have lived in and cultivated these mountains for thousands of years, for they have always offered great spirituality. Since time began, they were believed, and still are believed, to be portals to the gods, and especially to Inti, the sun god, our supreme god. It is here, during times of war and famine, that our sacrificial kapakoas were offered to appease the gods. There is simply no more sacred place to honor our dead. To this day, our people continue to make offerings here, lest evil spirits rise again. June suppressed a momentary smile as she shook her head, but she said nothing. Senorita, Dr. Moon, I know your countrymen believe differently than we, and we respect your beliefs. But whether you understand ours or not, please accept their importance. These mountains you seek may not be Everest, the mother of the world, but they are sacred to us. It is not that we do not want to go inside with you, Manuel said as he pulled the tent rope over the peg and tied it in place. We cannot. He turned back to the tent and pulled at the cord. It was taut. He gave an accepting grunt. But we will take you there tomorrow. Wait for your return and pray the spirits keep you safe. Over the past few years, Manuel and Louise had come to deeply respect the young archaeologist and would do anything she asked of them. Not this, however. Okay, June relented. You're right, and you know I do accept your beliefs, but is it all right for me to say I hope you're wrong? We hope so too, Doctor, for your well-being more than ours. June unfurled her sleeping bag and crawled inside. It was a moonless night. She stared into the dark for what seemed to be forever, but in fact was only a few moments. Then she closed her eyes and prayed to no god in particular that she would sleep in peace. Maybe proximity to the mountains would be enough to banish those relentless dreams. It always started the same way. Ancient temples sprouted from jungle vines. Elaborately carved marble columns inlaid with jade, silver, and gold rose more than 100 yards tall and glistened in Inti's harsh sunlight. As always, she was surrounded by thousands of servants, bowing subserviently, which, embarrassingly, even in her dreams, she greatly enjoyed. They were chanting words she could never understand. After staring at the temples, she suddenly noticed that she was standing in the middle of an immense koi pond. The ancient fish, large and meaty, swam about her feet as if guarding her from some underwater enemy. She saw herself reflected in the eerily calm waters, but she wasn't seeing the face of Dr. June Moon. June Moon? Archaeologist, painter, explorer. Instead, a lean, muscular woman with stark white skin and dark black eyes stared back at her. Outside of her dreams, June had never seen this woman who looked so similar to herself, but was obviously so different. Somehow, though, she always knew her name. Enchantress. Then the dream ended as it always did. The reflection reached out to touch her. Or was she trying to drag June down? And just as their fingers were about to touch... Manuel leaned over her, pulling at her shoulder. Dr. Moon, he said urgently in Spanish. You were shouting. You sounded in terrible pain. Are you all right? June was still in her protective cocoon, shaking the sleep away. Luis was next to his friend, looking just as worried. Did you see the mountain gods? He asked, his eyes intense. Were they warning you to stay away? We did try to tell you. These mountains are for believers only. June pulled herself out of the sleeping bag and struggled to stand. The dreams always seemed to leave her weak and thirsty. She grabbed a bottle of water and drank most of it in a single gulp. It was the dream, she admitted. Same one as always. And no, Luis, I didn't see any gods or demons. Just that strange woman where my reflection should have been. She thought for a moment, remembering. You would have liked her. This time she was wearing little more than leather and chains, and that same crescent moon-shaped headpiece she'd worn before. June snorted a laugh. Wonder what it says about me, that's how I see my reflection. She rubbed her eyes and reached for another liter of water. It's almost dawn. I say we get started. The sooner we get there, the less stressed I'll be. Through as much of the jungle as they could, then walked the rest of the way, reaching the mountain in just under 7 hours. June felt the hairs on her left arm tingle as if electrified. The sensation vanished a moment later. Let's go this way, she said, pointing left. They looked at her curiously, and she added, just a feeling. The cave entrance was an hour away. It was plainly visible, almost glowing under the intense sun. There was no way she could have missed it. She pulled the rover to a stop and checked her watch. 6 hours to spare. This may turn out to be a good day after all. Manuel and Luis followed her to the mouth of the cave. Please, come with me, she insisted. Luis's smile was filled with understanding, but he still shook his head no. We will walk with you to the outer tunnel, but when we reach the Cave of Teeth, we must leave you to your own fortunes. But we do so praying for your safe return. I know it's better than to try to argue with you, Luis, she said, and I thank you for all your help. That is easy for us to do, Dr. Moon. You showed great courage coming here to confront your nightmares. Few would have, or could have. Considering my dreams, I don't think there was anything else I could do. We want to remind you, Doctor, Manuel said. The teeth of the cave look fierce, but they are not. They exist to lead man to truths we cannot see on our own. But on your journey, should you continue past them, you will be beyond their power to protect. Like I said, I don't have much choice.
You've exceeded your time here.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Something else you would like to read?
Yeah, I think I'll take something else besides this. Well, let's go from colossal disappointment to lighter fare, shall we?
Sounds good. And just in case anybody else watching is interested in having something of theirs read, you know what to do. Smash that Kickstarter link, below the video. Tell us what you want. And also get some cool rewards, because there's some cool rewards on our Kickstarter.
Overdues. What do I do? What do I do? This library book is 42 years overdue. I admit that it's mine, but I can't pay the fine. So should I turn it in or hide it again? What do I do? What do I do? Bucking Bronco. Can you ride the bucking Bronco? Can you stay in that old saddle till your teeth begin to rattle? Can you whoop and bounce and stick upon his back? Can you ride the bucking Bronco while he's snorting, smoking, kicking, and your stomach starts to sicken and you feel as though your spine's about to crack? I can ride the bucking Bronco. I'll just sit up here and whistle till his strength begins to fizzle and he knows that I'm his master finally. Yes, I'll tame the bucking Bronco. You can see me setting easy. Here's the bucking Bronco. Here's me.
We have one more joke that's being requested to be read.
Excellent.
It's really short, so. Yeah.
2 muffins are baking in an oven. One muffin says to the other muffin, "It's getting hot in here, huh?" The other muffin says, "Ah, a talking muffin!" Classic. Let's try some more of this Jim Gaffigan fella. Newborn land. I'm not surprised by how much I love my children. I'm relieved. Shortly after I found out Jeannie was pregnant for the first time, I was worried. Would I be able to provide the unconditional love of a parent? I always found those Ann Getty's baby flower photos annoying, and it kind of puts me in a good mood to see a teenager fall off a skateboard. How could someone like me ever hope to be a good parent? Even I knew my, "oh, what a cute baby" act was not very believable. What if I saw my baby and I was like, yeah? If you have these feelings too, don't worry. It just means you're a horrible person. The good news is when your baby is born, something happens. I can't explain it. You just love your baby. Unconditionally. Even if you didn't get the baby thing before, when you experience your own, you immediately fall in love and feel like you could kill or die for that baby. I was born with a heart that was 2 sizes too small, but when I saw my baby, it was like the Grinch discovering the true meaning of Christmas. The newborn stage is a special time. It's really a sacred time when nobody expects you to do anything except enjoy your new bundle of joy. This sacred time lasts roughly 20 minutes, and then you become the publicity agent for the mother and the baby. The masses of family and friends want to be assured the mother is okay and get information on the baby. For some reason, it's really important for people to know how much the baby weighs. This always baffled me. How much does she weigh? Well, that's rude. She's not even a day old, and people seem obsessed with my daughter's weight. She was 9 pounds, but I remember telling my friends she was 8 pounds, 16 ounces, because it sounded thinner. Either way, she carried the weight very well, but we put her on the Atkins diet anyway. Of course, there is nothing anyone can do with the information about your newborn's weight. No matter what the weight, they all say the same thing. Ooh, big baby. I don't have to explain that newborn babies are an enormous amount of work. When we had Mar, it was exhausting watching Jeannie do it all. With each newborn, I was shocked at how much work there was. The infant just lies there, sleeping, crying, or cooing, not even offering to help. I always think, great, we got another lazy one. Newborns are lazy. You even have to help a newborn burp. Of course, then you have to try and stop them burping for the next 18 years. But babies are worth it. It's amazing the power a baby has over a parent. They are so cute, even though they are ridiculously out of shape. I mean, I'm out of shape, but a baby? Please, they have 0 muscle tone. They can barely hold their heads up. It's embarrassing, really. Still, they must have some kind of strange magic, because there is nothing that exists in the universe that can be as difficult, make you lose as much sleep, smell as bad, and still be so loved. Once on the road, I drove past a serious skunk smell, and my only thought was, I miss my baby. Babies are adorable, but they kind of have to be because they are rude. Wah! That's not polite. Wah! 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 I don't speak baby, but my guess is there's no please in that statement. Babies are the worst roommates. They're unemployed. They don't pay rent. They keep insane hours. Their hygiene is horrible. If you had a roommate that did any of the things babies do, you'd ask them to move out. Do you remember what happened last night? Today you're all smiles, but last night you were hitting the bottle really hard. Then you started screaming and you threw up on me. Then you passed out and wet yourself. I went into the other room to get you some dry clothes. I came back in and you were all over my wife's breasts, right in front of me, her husband. Dude, you have to move out. It's strange for a father when a mother breastfeeds. The babies always seem to look right at the dad like, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're pathetic. Why don't you take a picture, weirdo? When I complain about this to Janine, she thinks I'm being crazy, but I don't trust newborn babies. We really don't know them. We don't know what they've been doing in utero for 9 months. They could be a terrorist, a communist, or even worse, a book agent. I think it's also weird how many babies go for the skinhead look. Don't take fashion advice from a baby. I tried to do the onesie thing last summer, and I'm not sure, but I think people were laughing at me. Anyone who has ever been the parent of a newborn baby knows that baby clothes are just plain stupid. I mean, they're cute for pictures, but after that, just take those stupid clothes off and wrap your baby in a towel. How much time and money could we save if we just wrapped them in towels? For those of you less concerned with the environment, paper towels would get even better. Unfortunately, you will get tons of baby clothes as gifts. That is what people want to get you. Baby clothes are like torture for both the baby and the parent. Getting babies dressed up in those little clothes is a major struggle. The baby is screaming and you're in a panic, so you're always putting their wrong leg in the armhole and their head through the leg hole. All the while, your baby is turning red and wailing like, why are you doing this to me? And you're just apologizing over and over again like, shh, I'm sorry, we're almost done. Shh, Grandma gave this to you and she wants to see you in it. Shh, oops, oh, it's on backwards. Come on, just let me start over. Then, when you finally get the clothes on, they usually throw up on them, or it is immediately time for a diaper change, and you have to start all over again. Of course, what people should be giving newborns are diapers. Just diapers and coupons for free diapers. Newborns go through like a case of those in a week. Giving a newborn clothes just makes no sense at all. Newborns can't dress themselves, and from what I've experienced, they never go out. Either that, or we've had some really homebody newborns. I've been around 5 newborns, and not one of them has said, tonight I'm meeting some friends for sushi. Can you help pick out an outfit? Fashion's night out is not a big thing for babies. And the snaps and buttons never end. I always feel like I'm trying to put a duvet on a moving comforter. As I snap baby clothes, I can hear the employee at the baby clothing factory laughing at me. Ha ha, no, put 20 more snaps on, Bob. Ha ha ha, now put on a snap that doesn't even have a matching snap. Ha ha ha, good one, Bob. I'm sure there's someone named Bob working at the baby clothing factory. Well, at one time there probably was. Instead of figuring out a way for baby clothes to have something less stupid than snaps, the geniuses named Bob at the baby clothing factories were busy designing something even more stupid. Baby versions of adult shoes. My brother-in-law Patrick bought our then 3-month-old Jack tiny Timberland hiking boots. Our baby couldn't walk, let alone hike. Patrick explained that the boots could be cute. Cute, yes. But only because they're ironic. A baby wearing construction worker gear that weighs more than he does. Really, it's mean. It's like giving a blind person a microscope. Look at him fumble with that. Isn't it adorable? I have to get a picture. He's holding it upside down. Newborns always get gifts from your friends and family. New dads don't. I know, it sounded unfair to me too. What did the newborn do? Nothing, right? The people giving the gift don't even know what the newborn would want. It's usually the first time the person is meeting the baby. How could they know the baby's taste? Usually they're not even gifts that they can use. Once someone got our newborn son a book. A book? Hello, the baby doesn't even speak English. How could you expect him to read it? Then I realized it was one of those cool touchy-feely books with barely any words. Like one page is felt, then there's a crinkly page, then the silk one. Anyway, I stuck that book in my desk drawer for me to read later. That book was way too nice to waste on a baby. Please just get them diapers. Before I had kids, I was afraid of diapers. Now I am a diaper expert. At times I feel like a diapering professional. I can change a diaper standing, squirming, screaming, on an airplane, and even in the dark. And I can change a baby's diaper too. Changing a diaper in the middle of the night is a unique skill. It's like in the Hurt Locker, but much more dangerous. And you don't have the 2 other guys on the elite squad to help you out. It's just you, the baby, and the wet diaper in complete darkness. Around 4 a.m., you'll hear the half-asleep cry from the baby. Allow me to take a moment to describe what the half-asleep baby is. Sleeping babies will often cry due to discomfort of some sort. If you can find a way to diffuse the problem immediately, they will return to a fully sleeping state. If you miss this opportunity to intervene, by even seconds, the results can be devastating to an entire household. Back to 4 a.m. The cry continues. Is it hunger or diaper? Always thinking contingency, I'll start warming a bottle in a coffee cup of microwaved water. You shall see how this will come in handy later. You must react quickly and with purpose to the baby's cries. If you don't, the consequences are simple. You'll be up for 3 hours with a tired, cranky baby. Like disarming a bomb, everything must be done in a stealth manner that will not fully wake the baby. You have to get in and out. An experienced pro like myself will grab the aforementioned warmed bottle, see, I told you it would come back, a new diaper, some wipes from the wipe warmer, and one of those scented blue diaper bags that are not only impossible to open, but make about as much noise as microwaving popcorn. You have to use the scented bag, or in the morning your house will smell like a subway station on New Year's Day. With the Mission Impossible theme song playing in my head, I position the bottle in the baby's mouth, carefully propping it with a pillow, while I quickly undo 45 snaps on the sleeper. I will have exactly 20 seconds to complete my task. I carefully peel back the adhesive tape on the sides of the old diaper. The cries grow louder as the bottle falls out of its position, and louder still as the cold air hits the open diaper area. Will I make it? The once warm wipes feel cold to the touch, but it's too late to back down. The ice-cold wipe further startles the screaming yet somehow still sleeping baby. Then the diaper is on, tape fastened, and the bottle is repositioned. The hardest part is over. Disaster averted. But I'm not out of the woods yet. I commence re-snapping the sleeper in complete darkness. I probably skipped a few, but who cares? The baby is silent. I raise the crib rail and tiptoe out of the room a victor. A hero. I stub my toe on the bouncy chair, but muffle my yelp of pain. As I close the door, I hear only the drinking of the bottle. And then suddenly, the diaper is wet again. Mission Impossible 2.
All right. We're still sitting with no new pledges here.
Oh, dear.
Which means that we have to go back to my immortal.
Excellent.
Unless somebody wants to jump in and change that.
I would like to change that to some Mountain Dew, please.
Yes. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
I think we will go for approximately another 15 to 20 minutes here, as long as that's cool with y'all.
I'm just fine. Oh, thank you. Chapter 12. Author's note. Stop effing, okay? Hargrid is a pedo to a lot of people in American schools are like that. I wanted to address the issue. How do you know Snap ain't Christian, plus Hargrid isn't really in love with Ebony? That was Cedric, okay? I was about to slit my wrists again with the silver knife that Drago had given me in case anything happened to him. He had told me to use it valiantly against an enemy, but I knew that we must both go together. No! I thought it was Hairgrid, but it was Vampire. He started to scream, OMFG, no! My scar hurts! And then his eyes rolled up. You could only see his red whites. I stopped. How do you know? I saw it, and my scar turned back into the lightning bolt. No! I ran up closer. I thought you didn't have a scar anymore, I shouted. I do, but Diabolo changed it into a pentagram for me, and I always cover it up with foundation, he said back. Anyway, my scar hurt, and I turned it back into the lightning bolt. Save me. Then I had a vision of what was happening to Draco. Wolfmort has him in bondage. Anyway, I was in the school nurse's office now, recovering from my slit wrists. Snap and Lupin and Hagrid were there too. They were going to St. Mango's after they recovered because there were pedophiles, and you can't have those fucking pervs teaching in a school with lots of hot girls. Dumbledore had constipated the studio camera they took of me naked. I put up my middle finger at them. Anyway, Hagrid came into my hospital bed holding a bouquet of pink roses. "Annabelle, I need to tell you something," he said in a very serious voice, giving me the roses. "Fuck off," I told him. "You know I fucking hate the color pink anyway, and I don't like fucked up preps like you," I snapped. Hagrid had been mean to me before being gothic. "No, Enoby," Hagrid says. "Those are not roses." "What, are they goths too, you poser prep?" I asked, because I was angry that he had brought me pink roses. "I saved your life," he yelled angrily. "No, you didn't," I replied. "You saved me from getting a Paris Hilton pee video made from your shower seat being viewed by Snap and Lupin, who masturbated," see, is that spelled wrong, "to it when he added silently." "Whatever," I yelled angrily. He pointed his wand at the pink roses. "These aren't roses." He suddenly looked at them with an evil look in his eye and muttered, "Well, if you wanted honestly, that's all you had to say." "That's not a spell, that's an NCR song," I corrected him wisely. "I know, I was just warming up my vocal cordes," then he screamed. "Petulus morango mi cremisi romatio." For all you cool Gothic MCR fans out there, that is a tribute, especially for Raven, I love you, girl. "Imo noto okayo." And then the roses turned into a huge black flame floating in the middle of the air, and it was black. Now I knew he wasn't a prep. "Okay, I believe you. Now WTF is Draco." Hagrid rolled his eyes. I looked into the ball of flame, but I could not see nothing. "You see, Enoby," Dumbledore said, watching the two of us watching the flame. "To see what is the flames. Ha ha ha, you reviewers, flames, get it? You must first find yourself first, Kay." "I have found myself, okay, you mean old man," Hagrid yelled. Dumbledore looked shocked. I guess he didn't have a headache or else he would have said something back. Hagrid stormed off back into his bed. "Or a liar, Prof. Dumbledore, eh?" Anyway, when I got better, I went upstairs and put on a black leather mini dress that was all ripped on the ends with lace on it. There was some corset stuff on the front. Then I put on black fishnets and black high-heeled boots with pictures of Billy Joe Armstrong on them. I put my hair all around me so I looked like a Samara from The Ring. If you don't know who she is, you're a prep, so fuck off! And I put on blood red lipstick, black eyeliner, and black lip gloss. "You look kawaii, girl," Bloody Mary said, sadly. "Fangs, get it? You do too," I said sadly too, but I was still upset. I slit both of my wrists, feeling totally depressed, and I sucked all the blood. I cried again in my bathroom and put the shades on so Snap and Lupin couldn't spy on me this time. I went to some classes. Vampire was in the hair of magic creatures. He looked all depressed because Draco had disappeared and he was used to be in love with Draco. He was sucking some blood from a Hufflepuff. "Hi," he said in a depressed way. "Hi back," I said in a equally sad way. We both looked at each other for some time. Harry had beautiful red Gothic eyes, so much like Draco's. Then we jumped on each other and started screwing each other. "Stop it now, you horny simpletons!" shouted Professor McGoggle, who was watching us, and so was everybody else. "Vampire, you fucker," I said, slapping him. "Stop trying to screw me. You know I love Draco," I shouted, and then I ran away angrily. Just then he started to scream, "OMFG, no! My scar hurts!" Then his eyes rolled up. You could only see his red whites. "No," I ran up closer. "I thought you didn't have a scar anymore," I shouted. "I do, but Diablo changed it into a pentagram for me, and I always cover it up with foundation," he said back. Anyway, my scar hurt, and then I had a vision of what was happening to Draco. Voldemort has him bondage. Special thanks to Raven, my Gothic's blood sister. WTF, you're supposed to write this. Hey, Raven, do you know where my sweater is?
Somebody wants to know, is this a parody? This isn't for serious, is it?
That is one of the great mysteries of the internet. A lot of people believe this is a parody because her spelling gets absolutely perfect when she's not writing the author's notes. But you have to wonder what kind of creative energies went into something like this. This basically is what started things like Full Life Consequences and other such troll fics like that. The early 2010s were a magical time.
Yeah. Well, I think we're running down to the end here. Would you like to pick up our surprise ending piece?
I do believe I would. The surprise ending I accidentally completely blew for a lot of people.
Well, I didn't tell you it was going to be a surprise because I forgot.
Well, to ring out the evening tonight, we have the childhood classic, Go the Fuck to Sleep. And so, let us all be lulled by the wonderful message within. The cat nestles close to their kittens. The lambs have laid down with the sheep. You're cozy and warm in your bed, my dear. Please go the fuck to sleep. The windows are dark in the town, child. The whales huddle down in the deep. I'll read you one very last book if you swear you'll go the fuck to sleep. The eagles who soar through the sky are at rest, and the creatures who crawl, run, and creep. I know you're not thirsty. That's bullshit. Stop lying. Lie the fuck down, my darling, and sleep. The wind whispers soft through the grass, hun. The field mice, they make not a peep. It's been 38 minutes already. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Go to sleep. All the kids from daycare are in dreamland. The froggy has made his last leap. Hell no, you can't go to the bathroom. You know where you can go? The fuck to sleep. The owls fly forth from the treetops. Through the air they soar and they sweep. A hot crimson rage fills my heart, love. For real. Shut the fuck up and sleep. The cubs and the lions are snoring, wrapped in a big snuggly heap. How come you can do all this other great shit, but you can't lie the fuck down and sleep? The seeds slumber beneath the earth now, and the crops that the farmer will reap. No more questions. This interview's over. I've got 2 words for you, kid. Fucking sleep. The tiger reclines in the shimmering jungle. The sparrow has silenced her cheep. Fuck your stuffed bear. I'm not getting shit. Close your eyes. Cut the crap. Sleep. The flowers doze low in the meadows, and high on the mountains so steep. My life is a failure. I'm a shitty-ass parent. Stop fucking with me, please, and sleep. The giant pangolins of Madagascar are snoozing as I lie here and openly weep. Sure, fine, whatever. I'll bring you some milk. Who the fuck cares? You're not gonna sleep. This room is all I can remember. The furniture crappy and cheap. You escape. You run down the hall as I nod the fuck off and sleep. Bleary and dazed I awaken to find your eyes shut, so I keep my fingers crossed tight as I tiptoe away and pray that you're fucking asleep. We're finally watching our movie. Popcorn's in the microwave. Beep. Oh shit. God damn it. You've got to be kidding. Come on, go the fuck back to sleep. The end.
Want to sign us off here?
Certainly. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this live stream tonight. I had a lot of fun reading all of your interesting choices. And keep watching our live streams, keep supporting Super Academy and the Kickstarter, and we hope to see you again real soon.